Hey Peter, I have been watching this, and this is my second time trying to record this, and that's because I went and got this side by side comparison of our two clips right here, and I noticed something really fascinating. And that is our backside 360s here are pretty much actually exactly the same. There's going to be a few changes that we'll be able to make and a few pointers I'll give you that are going up your consistency, but let's just look at the similarities quick. Arms wound up pretty similar. Angle of the upper body, super similar. Head positioning, really similar. Snap timing and throw, really similar. Pulling, everything's looking good. Your shoulder's dropping a little bit. My shoulder's dropping a little bit. It's normal to have the shoulders dropping a little bit because you're trying to counterbalance. If you had everything completely neutral going off a takeoff, you'd be sort of set over your tail, and on a 360, that can make you land tail heavy. So it's normal to pull the upper body down forward as long as your shoulders stay square. So that all looks really good. The timing for coming up and looking around, super similar. You're doing it a little bit earlier than I am. And then arm positioning here, really similar. Coming around, really similar. It's all really similar. So this, Peter, right here is a really solid backside 360. And this is one that you can be really proud of. There's going to be a few changes that I'm going to recommend making, and we'll go and look at the other clips. But this backside 360 is a lot closer to being perfect than it is to being bad. And that is awesome. And it's very comparable to my backside 360s last year. And I've been doing backside 360s for a very long time. So this is really awesome to see. I went into this video trying to break this down, figure out what's going wrong here, but there's honestly nothing really going wrong here. There's going to be slight places we can improve it, but this is a really, really good backside 360. So with that out of the way, I just wanted to say that because the improvement, what I've been noticing has been really stark and really dramatic, and I'm super stoked on the progression you're making. So let's go and break down a couple of these things to figure out how you can get to the next level, because the goal isn't to be able to do a backside 360 as good as I could last year. The goal is to do perfect backside 360 so you can build up for future spins. So I was noticing one thing with your setup carves, and I think this is going to be the main thing that's sort of holding you back right now and holding back your platform. We actually need to go back to this clip. And that is the fact that you're letting your knee come in right here. See how your knees are sort of getting in, and this is sort of making you lean forward? Where if we compare that to me, my knees are completely squared, and that's letting me keep a little bit less leaning. So I can hold it to the same edge pressure, but without leaning as far forward. And I think this is the main thing that's throwing you off, is the fact that your back knee's coming in, and that's making it so you have a little bit too much toe pressure, and that toe pressure is causing you to lean. And this leaning is making it so it's harder to time your rotations. We can really see it on one of these. I'll play it through and we'll get to it. Coming in, looking really good, popping up. This one right here. So this one, everything was looking really fantastic, if I'm being honest. Coming up to the in run, I really like this position. I really like the angle of your board. Everything looks really good. See how your board is angled right to the corner here. If we follow that through the whole way, that's really fantastic. So this is all really fantastic. Yet when you transition to your toes, it's making it so you're starting to lean really far forward, and see how you're sort of concaving? And once you're at this point on the takeoff, your upper body is just too far away from your legs. So this is telling us that you're utilizing leaning in order to hold that toe edge pressure. So I'm going to teach you a way to go and avoid that. And then after that, we will go back into a video and break down the backside 540s, because I honestly don't think there's too much more to say about the freeze. You did one that's equivalent to mine, and that is pretty solid. So let's go and talk about the fundamental principles you can do to go and fix this. So currently, in order to go and switch to your toe edge to heel edge, you're going from this position, and then you're turning yourself like this, trying to get those hips open so you can snap. But this is putting you in this position right here. And because your knees are so pointed this way, it's really putting you up like this. And that's going to cause you to lean and be unbalanced. So I want you, instead of going and trying to open your hips by pushing this knee forward and twisting like this, instead think about it as elongating your hips. So coming up and elongating and pushing out. See here how my knee's staying straight, but I'm still getting that hips opened. This is actually something that I just learned this year. So It's pretty new to me, hence why I haven't really talked about it before, but it's been a complete game changer for me, and it's something you can train at home. So the difference is, instead of going from heel edge to toe edge like this, instead you want to go from heel edge, toe edge, and then push out. So you're trying to push out this hip, activate the front hip flexor, activate the back glute, to go and add that little bit of rotation. This just helps to keep you taller, helps increase your range of motion without going and compromising you, dropping you in. Because right now you're sort of going like this, what's going to be a lead position that's going to be hard to generate power and consistency off, and it's going to cause you to lean. So let's take this back hip and just push it out like that. So we'll go and run this drill a couple of times, just here, lean, pushing through onto that toe edge slightly, and then pushing and lifting with the chest. You should feel a slight pull in here, slight strain, but it shouldn't be like too exaggerated. We're not trying to like fully exaggerate like this, because that's going to throw us off. Keep like 95% of bend in your legs. And that's going to be the other place we can improve. You're just having a little bit too much bend in your legs, and that's because you're relying on that bend in order to hold that toe pressure and then that little bit of lean. It's a safety mechanism, but your timing with that setup carve is really good, so we don't need that safety mechanism anymore. So I want you to just practice at home, coming in heel edge, slight toe edge, and then extending that back leg, pushing it out by activating that glute. So it looks like this. Try to do it switch, doing it like this, and then coming around like this. And for wind-ups, you don't need to do a big wind-up. Just have your hands here, push out like this. Instead of trying to do extra bit of winding up, let's go and keep a more neutral upper body position, because adding this extra increase in motion of the hips and the balance will give you more room to play with. Because that's one of the reasons why I'm getting more power than you and able to like get these rotations more around, is I'm just a little bit more fluent with the flow. So I'm coming in and my timing's a little better, a little smoother, where you're sort of rushing to go and snap and then get that head pulled around. And if you do that a little bit too soon, it's going to throw off your power, where I'm coming in, little slow pocket, once I feel like I'm in control, I'm then going and pulling it around like this. But you're very close. It's like a matter of seconds right now, so not too big of a deal. With that in mind, let's just go and look at this one more time. So see here, I'm coming in heel edge. I'm not doing the hip thing, but my legs are staying relatively straight, straighter than yours, and that's giving me a better platform to get rotation from. And then from here, I'm keeping my head nice and centered, leading with that upper body, and once the upper body is leading and I can see the landing, that's when I feel better to pull in. And notice here how I'm not trying to accelerate the rotation by extending the neck. The head's always maintaining a centered position. You're doing this really well in this clip right here, but I just want to drive home that we always want to keep that head centered in the body, just like this. And if you want to spot more, then you need to go and keep your chin angled more down and add more rotation in your torso, not try to increase it with your head. This is going to be really important once we move on to bigger tricks like backside 720s. So with that out of the way, I guess we'll just go over the key steps that you're doing really well right now, just for the memory bank, and then we'll go and talk about the 540s. So yeah, but imagine this takeoff here with these legs a little bit straighter and pushing out that hip, this leg over here, way more powerful platform to work off of. Yeah, too much bend in the legs. That's going to be the last thing that we really need to fix over a setup carve, I think. And then you're popping up, great timing, good head positioning. Shoulders, this arm could be a little bit higher up. You're dropping it slightly, but not too big of a deal. Arm, a slightly too high up, but again, you're rebalancing, so it's super normal, and I'm just happy to see it leading the rotation. Leading the rotation is the most important thing. Keeping it in a more neutral position will come once you get a little bit more balance. Here, you're probably just a little bit off balance by having this front arm drop a little bit, so you counterbalanced it by pulling the arm. What's really good natural reflexes. That's an important thing when we're working on this stuff. Sometimes something feels natural and pulling through, and you landed a really good backside 360 here, so it obviously worked and you obviously made the right corrections. Let's go and talk about the backside 540. We have this one first. So first thing I'll note for this backside 540 is your setup carve isn't quite as good. See how you're accelerating through here? That's going to make it so you need to change that board angle. So you do a really good job considering, but it's not a really good platform to go and generate pop out of. You're also going and extending your legs a little bit more, and we can see your board sort of sliding, so you don't have that clean of edge pressure. This should be solved by going and doing that setup carve, that hip push that I just showed you. And then your throw, Your biggest problem for your throw with your back 5 is your timing's a little bit too soon. So see how you're going and snapping and then sort of slowing it down and then tucking it down. You just need to make sure it's a bit more of a fluent motion all the way through. Let's see the head for the spotting. Head positioning looks really good though. That's the right principles for head positioning. Here we have, I think, a back 7 attempt, and let's just see what goes on. So much better setup carve. Again, a little bit aggressive on that heel edge angle, but not by much. That's pretty freaking solid. It's just hard to control because you're relying on leaning right now. Snapping. Pulling through. Just a little bit early again. You're holding yourself in sort of a right take-off position. Let's see the axis of rotation. Axis of rotation was really good for the 5 there, so this was good for the 5. Normally, for like a back 7, you really don't want to be concaving over the front foot, but for a backside 540, it's not too big of a deal because it puts you into this like slight cork and you can hold it. A little more centered, but your biggest problem here is the fact that you're not holding a toe wedge that you can hold consistently. So that's making it so you're snapping a little bit soon, and you know you're snapping it soon, so now you're sort of like delaying it a little bit. And now we're getting in this position where your head's sort of leading the rotation early. So when you're doing something like a back 7 or a back 5, keep that head more neutral and be more patient for seeing the landing, and then be a little bit more patient for snapping the spin. This is just a little bit too soon, and then you're trying to make up for it with leading with that head too preemptively, and that's what's taking away all of your power. For the straight air, I just figured we'd talk about it a little bit. Really good. Landing a little bit tail heavy. So the reason why you're landing a little bit tail heavy here is probably just because you're opening your chest a little bit too much and not pulling your upper body forward. See how angled your board is? Let's see. Yeah, really good angle. Honestly, a really good straight air, Peter. Just probably need to focus a little less on the shifting and a little bit more of pulling your upper body back forward to get to that nose. Stalefish is a really hard grab though, so that was actually really solid. Yeah, that's really solid. Here, good backside 360, counter rotation. Good head position, good leading, but we can sort of see that you don't have quite enough rotational power. We want a little bit more rotational power so we can slow it down a little bit more. And that's happening because of right here. See how you're snapping and when you're sort of like holding the frame, like watch your front arm here. See how it stays stationary for a little bit? You're not actually continuing that rotation. So there's a couple of things you can do for this, but we need to make sure that we're continuing our momentum off the lip. So you can either go and snap a little slower, snap a little later. Yeah, those are the two options. Snap slower or snap later so we can make sure that we're maintaining a little bit of motion off the lip, making sure that everything's continuing because you're just sort of like snapping and using your whole range of motion a little bit early, so you're holding this so you don't have enough rotational force coming off the lip. So just a little bit of smoother timing on that end. That's going to feel way more better for you. Here's the back 5. Let's go and check it out. Good enough in run, good enough edge transition. Yeah, that was really good. That was really good. I do these a little bit more on a small jump. We want to get you more used to generating a little more power, but that's actually a really good 540, Peter. Good 360. This one's actually really solid. Yeah, that's just a fantastic backside 360 right there. That's really good. So these are looking good, Peter. These are looking really good. But we can see you're sort of like sliding across the takeoff here. Notice how your edge isn't stopping your momentum. So this just has more to do with the knee. But really good tallness. Yeah. So recap, it's looking really good. Those backside 360s in the air, all the body mechanics are looking really fantastic. I'd say every body mechanic's there, except for the fact that we want to go and try change your setup carve and your wind up to make it so you're pushing out that back hip in order to go and get yourself a little bit taller and a little bit less bend of the legs, and make sure that back knee isn't pointing towards your front knee. Keep that knee straight and try to build up that range of motion by extending up and through the hips. If you need a little more context on that, let me know, because it's a little bit of a weird feeling. I might make a video on it for the YouTube, but could also help with that. And then for the timing, for your power, you'll be able to get a lot more power when you're standing taller, and you can generate more through with more confidence. But one of the reasons why you're feeling like a little bit of lack of power is because of the fact that you're snapping a little bit too soon, and that's making it so you need to sort of delay and halt for a second. So what I recommend doing is delaying your snap a little bit more, getting more comfortable with it, and then you can go and really start speeding it up and start putting power through. But right now, because your snap's a little bit early, you're needing to go and slow down, and it's not really giving you much juice. So my recommendation for you is to go and practice getting that nice wind up with the hips, that nice extension to get you a little bit taller. That's going to give you a better platform to generate rotation from. And then I want to see you use that platform to try rotate these backside 360s a little bit faster. Generate more rotation and start slowing it down. Now you know how to give the rotation slowly and then control it and use counter rotation to speed it up. I want to keep seeing you doing that, and then moving on to the next level, I want to see you go and snap with a little bit more rotation than you need to, and then go and slow it down. So that way you feel like you're doing the backside 360 very easily, coming to the toes, no problem. And after that, you can go and get to the fives. But I really think this little bit of hip pressure windups is going to really help you, because you're relying a little bit too much on leaning forward at the moment. It's really going to make it hard to go and get that timing and get that confidence to put in a lot of power, because your upper body isn't going to be on the same angle every time. But it's looking really fantastic, dude. Nice improvement. Let me know if you have any questions on this, and we'll address them. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon.